We're very excited today. We're going out to a construction area over in Salem, New Hampshire.
We were notified that Salem Depot was going to be redeveloped, better traffic flow, and about maybe 6 buildings were scheduled to be raised. One of them, in fact, we were very interested in because a few years back, a friend that worked at the auto parts store that was there for quite some time told us that there were brand new auto parts never used from the 50s or 40s up in the attic. Well, that always stuck in my head.
There's an urgency right now because we know that the building is slated for demolition next week. So we have to get up there. We have to find out what's up there before the wrecking ball comes, takes it all away, and then it's going to be basically the right turn lane of Route 28.
So where were we headed today, Tom?
So today we are headed to a location that's going to be destroyed soon by the town.
When we found out the building was being raised, Tom was gracious enough to contact some town officials, and they got us in there twice, and the hunt began.
We never realized that what the building actually was. Bob had an inkling, and we followed it up when we found out that the building was going to be destroyed. We realized from outside there's a second floor. So if there was a second floor, everybody's got stuff in an attic. So we really wanted to take a look what was up there. And since the Salem Historical Society is basically Salem's attic, we wanted to see if there's a few more pieces that we could add to the lore of what's going on for that.
Well, you go through the ceiling. Don't worry about it.
This is, as it turned out, an important thread in the history of our community. And we have the fun of bringing these things down. We have the fun of saving them and looking through them.
So definitely going up into an attic when it's 90 degrees out and humid, not exactly the funnest time. However, when it came to going up into a building that we knew was going to be demolished and we knew had a lot of historical value to the town, was definitely an adventure that was worth going on.
So when we first got access to the building, we were documenting the lower half, showroom floor. It was a lot of empty space. And then Aaron did notice the access that was punched through. It was like 2 by 4 feet. It was a very tight spot. We got a ladder out of the van, and Aaron went up, passed him his camera, and he started documenting the attic. He started to find some great old relics up there. The beams are quite impressive. We know the building is at least from the 20s. We don't know how further back it goes.
First thing when you get up into the attic, you're faced with this car door thing. And it's like, it's dusty, but it looks really clean. It's neat, and you can tell it's old because it's got one of those triangle corner windows that you really haven't seen for a while. So it looks whole, but it's all dusty. So until you actually get it down and get a good look at it, you're not going to be able to tell, but just popping your head up there, all right, something's here.
So Tom and I were very curious about this car door that was up in the attic. So we did a little Google research. Couldn't turn up where the door came from, but looking at the vent and specifically the door handle, which was really unique, led us to a Rambler American. That's an old lamp for sure, original to the building. Yeah. He saw something in the corner and said, "Oh, what's this?" It was very large, and when he brought it out, it was this amazing Ford oval neon sign. I believe it was from the 30s. It had that patina. It was everything was covered with soot and messy up there. It was just covered. Lo and behold, he brought it up by the access hatch. We got it down by rope, and we found out that this sign is worth over $3,000 restored. Another artifact we found on the first day was the Ford bonus truck neon sign.
It was amazing that it survived. Came down through that attic hole.
Bonus trucks is how Ford identified the F-Series truck when it first came out in the late 40s.
It was also the first truck in the industry that was built on a truck chassis. All the other trucks up to that point were built on car chassis.
So this sign is worth over $3,000.
This is a new Ford. It's a Fairlane. Ford says it's new inside and out. That's not all they say about Fairlane, 65 style. Listen to this.
New styling makes the middleweight Fairlane look bigger. Fairlane her with a wider, more substantial look.
Looking bigger must be important.
One of the first things that Aaron found was a record up in the attic, and we couldn't figure out why are these records up in the attic, and they were sales records, but not the type of sales records you think. They were meant for the sales force to use to help differentiate their product against another product as a sales aid.
I was really excited to find the training records. They're vinyl records, small spindles, so I don't know if they were 33 or 78.
Found the film strips, Doug. In the barrel? In the barrel. They were all over the floor. Some were in oil bins. The film strip caps were everywhere. Most of these were Chrysler multimedia kits for dealer education.
So these were training aids for the Plymouth salesman. When you came in and you were thinking about buying a Chevy Chevelle, these guys used this training to sell you a Plymouth Belvedere instead.
We got a put the show on the road demonstration for the sales training of Chrysler Motors Corporation. Nice.
So what would happen is you would play the record, and then there would be a beep, and that would tell you to move to the next slide.
Did you ever see a sign like this one in a store window? Special bargain, 27-inch TV set, only $499.50.
And they would run 10, 15 minutes, and it would say, all right, well, here's the benefit of this car that you're selling as opposed to the competitor's car, which is bad, bad, bad.
A lower monthly payment figure will interest him greatly, especially when he winds up in a brand new car. And who knows? You might wind up with enough extra commissions to be a hero again with your ever-loving wife.
I guess that's the way it was sold in the 60s.
So these are quite collectible. Old oil can. This one's a Valvoline. It has been opened. I'm not sure on the date of it, but yeah, it's got some years on it.
I was going around while I was filming stuff. I was also looking for some artifacts just from a different perspective. We actually found some really cool things. I mean, obviously a lot of nuts and bolts and little things that you kind of expect, but also like cigarette packs from like the 30s and 40s.
We looked at Aaron's videotape, and we noticed there was an old porcelain sign up on the rafters. It's got these beautiful rafters up there. When we went back, we knew that we had to get this sign, and it's a dairy feed grain sign, porcelain, beautiful sign. Apparently this feed and grain store was from Ipswich, Mass. We don't know why it was at the auto parts store. The mystery remains.
We were very fortunate in that Doug Seed, the local historian who's done a lot of books on Salem, came with us. And he was shouting encouragement from down below. We would actually yell and describe, hey, I found this, we found this. And he'd go, look for this, look for this.
When I saw that stuff come down It's like opening King Tut's tomb. You had no idea what was up there. Can't even imagine that there were things up there. It was about to be torn down. So now these wonderful things come down. It's all exciting, it's all new, it's all Salem. It was a lot of fun.
I stole He stole my idea.
This was a Ford dealer in the late 40s, Shugrue's Ford. Some people know it as Shugrue's Garage. But he knew it as a Plymouth Dodge dealer because his dad bought a Plymouth Dodge there in 1965, brand new.
Actually, Bob, my dad did not end up buying the car. But that's a great example of how fluid history is. You heard me tell a story, but you missed the punchline.
I was surprised to see stuff like, I think there must have been a carpet dealership up there because there was a whole bunch of samples and mechanical pieces for you to put carpets out and things like that. It's had a lot of number of uses in the past. And we're most interested in like what it used to be as far as an auto dealership or auto repair.
I personally like figuring out who the people actually were that had this space over the years. Who were the people that were bringing this stuff up here? Why were they bringing it up here? Just a little bit of that kind of like personal stuff outside of what those artifacts actually mean from a historical standpoint.
I had always thought this building was from the 1950s, but one of the first things we found was a 1924 Bartlett's Auto Service slip. And that to me was great because we established a date, at least a date.
It was very evident when we went upstairs in the attic and Brianna found a lot of fabric samples from Chrysler. All the multimedia kits were from Chrysler. A lot of the receipts were from Chrysler. Mopar parts boxes. One of the curious things we found was a Packard automobile parts box, quite older than you'd expect to be in that building. But mostly it was Mopar parts, which is a Chrysler dealer, parts from the 60s. The boxes were in beautiful condition, very colorful. So there's more information about this building that we're learning. And Doug Seed is great at research. He loves Salem history, he lives it, it's in his heart. And he will find out everything about this building and document it.
Do we have to go back up?
I don't know, it's your call.
We need to see this through.
Something that we missed the first time going up, and as we were going out, we looked and noticed this A-frame of pipes with pieces jutting out of it. We weren't quite sure what it was. And it had a nice metal frame on the top of it, which had lettering, and it looked like it was definitely selling something, or whether it was holding something that they used. As we looked closer into it, we noticed that it had different titles on it, and we were reading the titles as it goes. So we came to the conclusion, this rack probably held different pieces of tools that you could lubricate the car with. And there's different oils that would be connected to it because different parts of the car needs different type of lubrication. So it had ends that would be able to get into places.
We knew we couldn't get it downstairs, so we had to do something. One of the cool things about this attic was that we noticed there was once either a stairwell up to it or some way that they could get large items up there. So we noticed in this access area that we could punch through it.
Sometimes you gotta be creative and make your own hole.
It was like maybe 8 by 10 feet wide, and we could lower some of these larger items down.
So it got stuck a little bit, and it took a ways to make sure that the hooks didn't catch on the boards, that the A-frame didn't hit the light fixture that was free and swinging, and slowly we handed it down and put it down to the ground. And we managed to get it out of that attic.
We're glad we were able to save it. I'm guessing it was from the 30s or 40s.
Say hi to everyone, Bob.
Bob. Hey everyone. This is the hatch we had to make to get that oil display out of there. Yeah, it's still quite hot out here. We're wrapping up.
We tried to work our way through, and we found these giant books. We'll call them ledgers, I guess. They were probably 6 inches by 9 inches and another almost like a foot tall. And they actually had the day-to-day receipts and things like that. And there were probably a half a dozen of these huge books.
So it's neat because this is the old carbon one, so you had the original and the copy, so you have both of them. They either gave him something else. So this was an internal charge to Arthur Malou, 52, 50 cents for grease.
Oh.
So that was definitely a work in progress. And this is Bill Bennett in 52, check rear brakes for $2, 40 cents in parts in 1952.
And we're hoping to be able to research, because there were names and addresses in there. Maybe we can actually find out people who currently live in town who had a relative or a grandparent or a great-grandparent or a great-great-grandparent that brought their DeSoto in to get the oil change.
We boxed all the ephemera and gave it to Doug Seed, and he's been documenting and dating and giving us a chronology of who used that building over the years.
He's got years of raw material and data to go through just by having these simple slips of what a mechanic would do to fix a car.
How do you like me? Sweat?
I think
dirt?
we're all matching, that's for sure.
Between the sweat and the dirt, and I think most of it's from the, the tiles, the roof shingles they used to use, and all the pitch and all that stuff that they used to use. A tar.
One of the really neat things we found, didn't quite know what it was. It was a giant metal box, and it looked like it was going to be a safe. But the more I looked at it, there were all these clips, almost like it was holding, like where you put dollar bills, but you could see all these sales slips. So you could literally have 100 sales slips in this one section.
Back, 1928.
The more we researched this, we realized in an old style garage, there would be an issue with fire. And you didn't want the paper sales slips to be destroyed because you wouldn't know, you need to keep your records. So they had basically a vault to keep just these active sales slips, not like they're full books, but here's what's going on for the 100 cars that are being fixed over the next 2 months. And each one had its own slip, so you could research what was going on and who owed what and how to pay things, I guess.
They're really priceless because it's a history of Salem. And you hate to see it go, but we know the building has to go. There's no two ways about it. So we're trying to save what information we can out of it.
I didn't go up into the building for the first search. Aaron and Bob had went there. But I got to see stuff that was in the truck itself. So I was searching at what was there, and I came across this sign right here, which I didn't quite understand what it was. But afterwards, Bob had said there's a glass sign that goes on top of it, and it's just a neon on the back.
So when we recovered the sign enclosure, we didn't think much about it, and it was put aside. But after looking at the footage with Tom, we put 2 and 2 together and realized we left the glass behind.
So when we got back down and we saw that this sign was actually supposed to go on this thing, we had an aha moment and went, we got to go back up a third time.
I hope it's there. That place is coming down.
All right, we're going back for the last piece of glass. This will be fun. It's over this direction. Guess what? Ding. There you go. It's still there and hasn't been touched. Look at that. So here is the concept. Frighteningly, we were successful. How do you like that? We actually, I thought it would be long gone by now.
For the museum to be able to display this, we had to put the jigsaw puzzle back together, the sign. We glued it. The neon was broken as well, so we used some LED tape to light it up. And we think it'll be a nice addition to the collection of Shugrue's Garage at our local museum.
I was sad that I hadn't brought down the glass originally, so I was really happy that we were able to go back up and salvage it. And we've got a really nice item now that should be a focal display for the Historic Society.
So on the internet, we could not find the sign anywhere. We know it's made by a company called Neon Products, Inc. of Lima, Ohio. Mostly used for beer advertisement. We haven't found that this has been used by Ford at all. It's a hand-painted sign. We believe we have the only one that's out there.
I'm happy that we're able to salvage so many pieces, and now the Historic Society has them. It's going to be a nice display when it's all done, and I love pieces like this that we're able to salvage them for future generations. It's great.
It'll be sad when another part of history is raised. It'll look great in the depot when it's done. I'm always saddened though when there's something that's been part of your childhood, a familiar location that's you always pass by. So it is bittersweet.
I think we did a good job. I don't think there's much left up there. And I think now it can be turned back into the right turn lane of the southbound part of Route 28.
Well, just ask my wife. I hate change, I hate progress, but it's inevitable here. And we have to understand. But luckily, we were tipped off about all this stuff that was upstairs in that building. How in the world could that building be torn down and have all those artifacts in there?
I really want to thank the Salem Municipal Works, Roy, Lindsay, and James, who were instrumental in getting us in the building, because if they weren't able to get us, open the doors to unlock it so we can go up before the demolition happened, none of this would have been available. So I want to thank them. I also want to thank the Salem Historical Society, because ultimately this is a place for them to go. I consider them Salem's attic. There's almost like a triad. There's the Salem School District that has a lot of materials with Media Center. There's the library, which has a lot of materials, and the Historic Society also has the rest of it. So between those three, they kind of act as a version of Salem's attic there too. So we're glad we could take it from one attic and put it into another.
Ever since we got tipped off that we had an attic full of antiquities, it was exciting, it was fun, it was a chance to save a part of Salem that clearly would have fallen to the wrecking ball. And then in a short time, within a month, all these buildings were gone, and this is where we are in September of 2020. Thank you, Bob. Tom, good job. Thanks very much.
Well, I feel like Beaker.